everyone, and welcome back to the Indie Crew channel. I'm Skennedy, your host for today, so just sit back and relax while I review a little game called Red Hot Vengeance. Red Hot Vengeance was released on the 11th of July 2019 and was developed and published by the studio Bros Before Giraffes, which has to be one of the best names I've ever heard. The game is available on Steam and the developer's itch.io page for free. That's right, absolutely zero charge. I always love to see it. The game is a twin-stick shooter similar to the likes of Hotline Miami, Zombieland Road Trip, and even Explosion. It contains 10 levels in the main campaign, 30 levels in challenge mode, and a level editor, which not only allows you to create your own levels, but even play ones made by other people. The story follows a hitman who is double-crossed by his employer and forced to break his one rule: no killing women or children. This sends him into a frenzy, and we follow him on his quest to bring down the former employer from the ground up, taking down drug labs, dockyards and restaurants. Once their businesses are destroyed, he moves on to taking down elite members of this mafia, mainly the Butcher and the Censor, Tommy. After invading a meeting of the higher-ups and taking the rest of them down, he's finally able to take down the man himself, Gino, and end his tyranny of revenge. The gameplay style is almost identical to others of this genre, a semi-overhead view of your character using WASD or the left stick on controller to move, with a crosshair to aim your weapon, which is controlled by the mouse or the right stick, hence the name twin stick shooters. Unfortunately though, one pet peeve I have with this game and other twin sticks is the slidiness. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't, and I think it's intentional, but it's highly noticeable. Quite like stick drift for keyboards, to be perfectly honest. With that out of the way, I think it's time to go over a few of the gameplay mechanics, the first of which being New Game Plus. New Game Plus is the same here as it is in many other games. It's basically a hard mode with more enemies spawning per stage, however you have all the weapons unlocked from your previous playthrough. As expected, there isn't a whole lot else to say about it, but I did want to mention it because, to me, a New Game Plus is always a welcome addition, as it lets you try new things you simply couldn't on your first go around. Anyways, speaking of weapons from previous playthroughs, this leads nicely into my next point: the weapons. Throughout the game, you can collect a variety of different weapons. You do so by picking them up and exiting the level with them. It took me longer than I'd like to admit to figure this out. For example, I was using the MP10 a lot, but I'd use a handgun to clear the explosive crates, which means I'd end the level with the handgun, not unlocking the MP10. Despite this though, I think it's a good way to get you to use weapons you otherwise might not. Overall, there are 9 weapons in Red Hot Vengeance, including your fists, which doesn't seem like a lot at all, but it genuinely is considering how short the game is, with the main campaign being beatable in about an hour if you're any decent. The next feature I wanted to discuss is the challenge maps. These are probably my favourite part of the game as they focus entirely on really fleshing out the gameplay. There are 30 of these challenge rooms and they require you to complete certain objectives to beat them. Some are simple, such as the very first one, Break and Enter, which simply needs you to kill a building of enemies and escape. However, some get quite tricky, even the early ones, like survive police onslaughts for 60 seconds or clear a whole map with just a baseball bat. I quite enjoy the challenge these bring, and in fact they really do test you. I still haven't finished all 30 and I can only imagine what the final one is going to be like, ominously titled The Final Test. You can keep good track of which challenges you have and haven't completed, as the ones finished will show up in red and the ones not yet finished will show up in white. The ones you haven't unlocked though will be blurred with only a title available. However, with the ones you have unlocked, you also get a brief description of what the challenge will consist of. One thing I wanted to go deeper on was the police in the game. The police, first appearing in level 6, spawn in waves to take you out. It was for this reason I actually struggled with level 6 a lot. Reinforcements keep on coming for the whole level until you complete the objective, and it can get pretty annoying when you're just by the escape van and you get killed last minute. I'm not salty, you're salty. They did play on this feature in the challenge maps, which is why I brought them up, and surviving 60 seconds with the police in this game is a lot tougher than expected. But don't worry, because police don't count toward the kills medal, which is the next feature I want to discuss. The segues today are going crazy. The medals are awarded for one of these 4 things: killing all enemies in the level, police and civilians not included, not dying once the whole level, completing the level in the required time, which varies from level to level, and finally, finding all secrets in a level, which are small red question marks you can pick up. From what I can tell, these medals don't get you anything inherently special apart from 100% completion, but that's rewarding in and of itself, right? Come on, where are my fellow trophy hunters at? Despite this though, I do like them for the same reason I like the challenge rooms. It adds difficulty to an already hard game, forcing you to have to be a Borderland master to get 100%. Those are all the gameplay mechanics I thought I ought to mention. Now, I want to discuss the art style. The art style of this game is good. Not great, but especially not bad by any means. For starters, I'll look at the positives. The cutscenes are set out like a comic book, which I thought was cool. It gives Infamous vibes in a way, or perhaps a better example would be Batman Arkham Origins on the Vita and 3DS, which has a very similar style, only a little more refined. Unfortunately though, there are some parts of the art I'm not a fan of, one of which being the colour palette. The colour palette here is mainly black, white and red. It isn't horrible, but I would have liked to see a bit more colour, more so in the levels themselves than in the cutscenes, which I think were actually done justice by the colour red, giving it a distorted, even creepy vibe to an extent. However, the levels did look rather repetitive. All the enemies simply being black silhouettes did help distinguish them from civilians, but again was quite boring. This issue probably comes from the fact that the art of the cutscenes looking very hand-drawn didn't translate well into the gameplay, which I understand, but some more variety in any way could have gone a long way in keeping people playing for longer. One thing that wasn't lacking in variety though was the game's original soundtrack, created by Brandon Morehouse. The soundtrack is very retro sounding, giving me, for some reason, super hot vibes. I really can't explain why. I mean, some of it sounds slightly similar, but not a lot, at all. If anyone else feels this way, let me know in the comments. My 5 favourite songs from this game are No Mercy, Needles, Shooter, Haunted, and Crushing. Now I think it's time for some closing thoughts I'd like to put out there. First off, I just want to say that this game being free is insane. Similar to the likes of Astro's Playroom, I full well think they could have easily charged at least some money for this. Yeah, I had my issues with the art style and the controls are a little loose, but those can be looked past. It's an incredibly fun experience, and if you do have a PC, it can't hurt to at least add it to your library. One very final thought I'd like to throw in though is the dialogue is a little cringe at times. Very much a complete non-issue for most players because again, it's free. But I thought I'd let you know. There's even a point where the protagonist drops the name of the game, and it's up there with Will Smith dropping the Suicide Squad name in the 2016 movie levels of cringe.
I'm gonna take everything from Gino. I'm gonna come at them with red hot vengeance.
Overall, this game is really solid and I'm gonna give it a highly respectable 7.5 out of 10. This game, like others of its genre, has very addictive gameplay and despite its few flaws can't really be knocked, considering it's free. And it quite literally can be tried for nothing, so I do highly recommend you give it a go. As always, thanks to Silver for the awesome thumbnail art, and be sure to check out our community Discord server, which will be in the description below along with Silver's socials. I've been Skennedy, this has been Red Hot Vengeance, and thank you all for watching. See you next time.
But what? I hear some.